Welcome back to Motorshed. I'm Steve Fox. Now, if you're looking for a mid-sized SUV, you have plenty choice at the moment. But if you're looking for something fancy yet affordable, surely you can't go wrong with the Jaguar F Pace. Or can you? We're going to find out today. We're going to take it for a drive, see how this thing's aged at just over 3 years old now, and see if it's worth considering over its German rivals. So it looks pretty smart then. In terms of SUVs, it's got to be up there in the top 5 best looking SUVs that you can buy today. Nice shape, it's got this big spoiler on the back. You've got 21-inch alloy wheels on this sucker, which really complete the look. You've got black accents all around the car, sportier bumpers. All in all, it is a terrific looking car. Practicality wise, one of the most impressive features of the F Pace is the boot area. Of course, you've got an automatic tailgate, button up here to close it. There's also a button on the inside next to the steering wheel, and you can open and close it with the key as well. So as well as having many litres of boot space, you've also got things like hooks on the floor, really strong ones. There's one in each corner. You've got hooks here and here and here and here and here and here. So there's loads of places to hook things up to. You've also got this really large space under here for things that you might want to keep in the car, such as a compressor, jump leads, that sort of thing. It really is useful. In the back here, you've also got a 12-volt socket. You can easily remove the parcel shelf, and the seats of course fold down as well, although you can't do that from within the back. You've got to go into the car to do that. Just pulling the levers down and they go all the way to the floor, giving you a flat loading space. So from a practicality point of view, absolutely no faults at all with the F Pace. Plenty of room for a fat lad too. In the back, not an awful lot to shout about in here. You've got a centre armrest with a couple of cup holders. Of course, it's the same leather as the front. You've got heated seats. You can only control those from down here with these buttons. You can't alter that from the infotainment system, which is a bit weird. You've also got a couple of USB sockets and a 12-volt socket down there as well for your passengers' convenience, and plenty space to store iPads and sweets. You've got your ISOFIX points with little caps that go on to tidy it up. I have fitted a child seat into this, it is very easy. You've got adjustable headrests as well. Comfort-wise, it's fine back here, really is. You do feel like this door card kind of muscles in on your space a little bit. I really do feel for the middle seat passenger, but other than that, it's okay. You wouldn't really want to have 5 people in here very often, but 4, absolutely fine. Lovely roof, really opens the cabin up, makes it feel light and airy. That's not a standard feature, of course, everything's an option. Check out the front. As this is the R Sport, you get these nice, comfortable sport seats, which hug you a bit more, but they're still pretty comfortable. Space for glasses storage. You've got a boot opener here. You've got your lane departure button here. Door bins are generous. Get a big bottle of water in there. I'll talk you through a few of the other interior features. So on the face of it, it does look like a very nice interior. two-tone leather, 7-inch touchscreen, lots of contrast stitching and piano black touches. The gear selector rises from the centre console, as in many of Jaguar's other models. Note the swirling on the piano black portions of the trim though. The car is showing its age here, only 3 years old, but some of these materials clearly not wearing very well. There are plenty of nice materials used though, and from a distance it does look like a quality interior. It's not until you delve a little deeper that it all falls apart. The further down you go, the scratchier the plastics get. The seats, as standard, are manual, with absolutely no adjustability apart from forwards, backwards, up and down. Maybe not what you'd expect from a car with a Jaguar badge. Storage wise, you have a bit of space in the glove box. It's not exactly plentiful though. You have a decent space for stuff under the armrest, enough for 3 different flavours of chewing gum and space to spare. You also have a USB port, auxiliary in and a 12-volt socket. The infotainment is in the form of a 7-inch colour touchscreen. It looks nice and it is easy to navigate. The response times, however, are pretty terrible. I found that selecting radio stations can be extremely frustrating, as a lot of the time your finger press doesn't even register, even though the button changes colour to suggest it's been pressed. On the subject of the radio, the DAB is useless, drops out very frequently. My XJ used to do the same thing, so it must be a Jag trait. It's so bad you tend to avoid using it. So one of the features of this car is actually not on the car, it's on my wrist. So this is an activity key. So the idea with the activity key is that you can lock your car key inside the car and use this to get back in. If you're going swimming or canoeing, something like that, and your key isn't waterproof, this is. So I'll show you how this works. You simply pop this onto your wrist. You simply take your key, or your big bunch of keys if you have them, you put them in the car and you lock it as normal. Only now, to lock the car, you offer it up to the J icon and the car locks. So you cannot open the car, your keys are inside and you're free. And then you're free to go for a jog and do whatever it is you do when you lock your keys in your car and use your activity key. And when you come back, you simply push the button on the back of the car to let it know that it can look for the key, offer it back up to the J, and hey presto, the car is unlocked again. As you can see, it doesn't make a nice noise. If you're looking to go anywhere speedily, you just get that nasty, horrible groan from the engine. The only time this engine sounds nice is when it's off. Unfortunately, Jaguar decided that they were only going to supply the R Sport model with a 2-litre diesel engine, which isn't very sporty, is it? So if you want to go for the 3-litre diesel, which is a much more suitable engine for this car, you've got to go for what I consider an inferior trim level. So you might get a few more toys, etc. with the SE or Portfolio, whatever, but they don't look as good. You know, they haven't got the styling quirks on the outside with the bumper and the upgraded alloys, etc. And they just don't have the presence of this car. But this car is all show and absolutely no go. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not the slowest car. It'll still do 0 to 60 in about 8.5 seconds, which isn't too bad, I guess. But this car would be so much better if it had a 3-litre twin turbo diesel. And if you are looking at buying one of these and you are fond of a bit of speed, and when I say bit of speed, even at islands and things like that, you want the ability to just nip out sometimes, and you just can't do it with this. It's not fast enough. So just to go through the engines in this car in a little bit more detail, at the bottom you've got a 2-litre single turbo diesel. You've got the twin turbo 3-litre turbo diesel, which in my opinion is the best engine. If you want to go mad, you can go for the SVR, which has a V8 petrol engine and is incredibly expensive. So this car's faults aside, where this really excels is in the driving. So this car is good to drive for an SUV. It will absolutely blow an X5 out of the water in terms of drive. So this has Jaguar's adaptive suspension, which is always a good thing in terms of ride quality. This one is sitting on a set of 22-inch alloy wheels, but despite that, the ride isn't really that hard. I've just gone over a load of potholes and didn't feel much of anything at all. You do have to give praise to the ride quality of this car, simply because it should feel a lot harder on these wheels. Motorway cruising speeds, we're doing 70 miles an hour now. What do you think? Is it noisy? I think so. Usually on a journey like this I'd have the radio on, but you don't notice it so much then. But when you've not got the radio on, I'm finding I'm having to talk up now because the tyre roar is fairly significant and you do get a little bit of wind noise. In terms of interior comfort, it's okay. It's not amazing. I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say this is a luxury SUV, but it's certainly a slight step above the likes of a Volkswagen Touareg or a Mazda CX-5, something like that. Of course, you've got nice two-tone leather. You've got leather up here as well. In fact, is that leather? Not sure, but it feels like a quality material. It's not until you get a bit further down that things get a bit more Ford Fiesta. But all in all, it seems like a decently well put together interior. Some of these plastics, the nice piano black, might look all right for the first few weeks, but there are several, well, there are a lot of swirl marks on this one. As I mentioned, this is the R Sport model, and this one in particular has had a few options chucked in as well. The glass roof, as you can see, which is very nice, and it does have a sunshade as well, which is nice on a really sunny day like today. If you've got a child in the back and you don't want them to get blinded, you can just roll that across. But I do much prefer to have that open because it just gives the cabin a lot airier feel. Incidentally, you can't open the sunroof. Not that you'd really want or need to when you've got fantastic air conditioning. This one, 3 years old, it's worth around about £26,000. If you compare that to something from the Germans, you'd have to be looking at a much older car. And with some of those older cars as well, they're also a lot older. Take, for example, the Porsche Cayenne. That for the equivalent of a 2016 Jaguar F Pace, you would be looking at a 2013 to 2014 model, but it's a 2010 car. So this one is much newer, and you can really, compared side by side, they're just in completely different leagues now. So this does represent much better value, although I imagine this will continue to drop in price as well. From the outside then, your neighbours will never know that you cheaped out on this one. The exterior might look like premium SUV, but the inside certainly doesn't carry that on. With its gorgeous exterior looks and a decent drive, it just about saves itself. But it could be so much better if you just pay the little extra to get the 3 litre. As a base model car, this is no better than rivals from Volkswagen, Audi and BMW, as almost everything is an option. These are just a few of the options available, but adding a few of these can greatly improve the overall experience of the F Pace. The main ones being keyless entry, parking camera, electric adjustable seats, auto dimming mirrors, 10-inch touchscreen and full digital driver's display. Couple this to the bigger diesel engine and this car is absolutely superb. However, it would cost you an awful lot to get it there, and you're into a completely different pricing bracket entirely, and all of a sudden you're competing with Range Rovers, Q7s and GLEs rather than Touaregs, CX5s and XC60s. As a piece of advice when buying second hand, as almost everything is an option on these things, comparing used models is incredibly difficult, and finding one that includes all the tech and features that you're looking for will be tricky. I would suggest checking out the options list on Jaguar's website and writing a list of what's important to you. Tick those off with each one that you look at, and just remember that dealers are never very good at knowing what is or isn't included on the models that they have in stock. So check everything listed when you view. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing, and until next time, bye bye.